Good evening, you guys, and welcome to another edition of Longevity Kitchen with me, Julie Gibson Clark. Tonight, we are gonna mess around with sardines again because, you know, sardines are so good for you. I mean, look at this. One pack of sardines, 1,700 milligrams of omega-3s. So that's like, you know, basically what I take in a day of omega-3s is in this can. So how nice is that? Like one less pill you got to take, plus it's got all the other, I'm sure there's probably something going on working synergistically in here that's going to make those omega-3s even better for me. And of course there's calcium in here too because there's bones. But anyway, so we're going to mess around with this and make a cold tuna salad. I don't know about you, but it is hot here and I just cannot turn on my oven. It makes me depressed, the thought of even, you know, putting that thing on. So we're gonna do a tuna salad where I mixed sardines. I'm gonna teach you a special way that I make a tuna salad. It involves preserved lemons, and I will teach you how to make preserved lemons in our next video for now. But if you wanted to make this before your preserved lemons were ready, you just use some capers in the meantime, okay? And or if you have your own very favorite way of making a tuna salad, just crack open some sardines, pour off the olive oil, and then mix it with your tuna and nobody will be the wiser. Just make it like you normally make it. Nobody will know you've got the sardines. I mean, you'd have to have a serious super taster to know there's a difference. So I'll teach you how to make mine, which is going to involve a red onion, the preserved lemons, these beautiful little cherry tomatoes, and I just happened to find these at the store, which is what inspired this whole recipe because these guys, they're so tiny. I don't know if you can see it, but they're like the size of like an extra large blueberry. You can use other cherry tomatoes and what you would do is just cut them into quarters, but I just got really like a little too excited about these things. I love anything in miniature. So they're like miniature cherry tomatoes. They're darling. And then a mayo too. And I'm going to use an avocado based mayo from Chosen Foods. I don't know them, but anyway, you can find an avo based, I think I got this at Costco. So I'm pretty sure that you can find an avocado oil based mayo, or you can make your own. And I will have to teach you how to make that. It's super, super easy. I just don't eat enough mayo that I would be making this all the time, but I will teach you at some point, I'll teach you how to make mayo. It's like ridiculously easy. But in the meantime, you could probably just Google it if you wanted to do that. But again, you know, one less thing to do in your kitchen, just look for a mayo with some healthy oils, you know, something that works for you. And then of course, we're gonna be using some dill, not this whole bushel of dill that was available to me at the store, but we're gonna use a little bit of the dill too. So let me show you how we do this. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing we are gonna do is open up our sardines, and I'm gonna pour off the oil. Because there's oil in the mayo, we don't need it. I suppose you could save it for something, but I don't know. I'm just gonna pour it off, and since it's olive oil, it's just gonna go down my sink. So I'm gonna, I don't know if you can kind of see those guys, but we're just gonna pour that off. Same thing, we are gonna just open this up, and I'm gonna pour off this water, just a second. Now I have no affiliation with this brand, but I buy this brand because probably I'd imagine many of you got the memo on how tuna especially can be high in mercury. If you haven't, then you need to do a little bit of research, but I'll see if I can find some and put some links there. But the kind of larger fish can be full of heavy metals. And this tuna, I get it at Costco here, called Safe Catch, no affiliation whatsoever. But what I am attracted to is that they test every tuna, every single tuna, and that the mercury is within like 25 times below the safe limit, they say, on the FDA's website, which means basically it's still going to have a little bit of mercury. I'm sure it's going to have a little bit of heavy metals, but it's not going to be at any type of amount that is unsafe. Certainly, I'm still not going to be eating it every day. You know, this is something I would probably enjoy 3 or 4 times a month at the most. But anyway, so then I'm just going to put my sardines in here. And I can see my kitty coming around because he can see He's so smart, this cat. He can smell, he just woke up from a nap. He can smell the sardines. He comes running. I love it. So I've just mixed those in there. That's all I've done. And then you're going to hear him saying, why aren't you giving me something like that tastes that good? Anyway, yes, I know. He's going to express his displeasure with me right now. I think he's so funny. All right, sorry. So you're going to take the lemon and you're just going to squeeze it directly onto this. Don't put any fats on it yet, okay? So just squeeze your lemon on here. And I think I am going to do 2 lemons because I did make this the other day and I remember thinking, I could be a little more lemony. What's kind of nice is the tuna's sort of dry and it will suck this lemon flavor right up into it. So it's really, really nice. You'll get this nice little lemony hit when you're eating the salad. But yeah, I think it needs 1 more lemon. So excuse me. So I've got 1 can of tuna, 1 can of sardines, and the juice of 2 lemons is going in here. So just 1 second. Let me grab another one. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna make it extra lemony tonight. It's just a nice little flavor bomb. Okay. And then we're just gonna let this sit in its little juices while we chop up all the other ingredients. Okay, there we go. All right, be right back. I'm just gonna clean up my cutting board and we'll be right back. I'm just gonna make sure that's all mixed in, that lemon juice. What's nice is too, it's kind of liquidy and so you won't need a lot of mayo for this. So it's a little lower in fat, I suppose. Not that that's a huge deal. Okay, we're just gonna chop a little bit, and I'm not gonna use this whole onion in here. I'm just gonna chop off like a very small, like maybe that's like 1/3 of this onion. And I just kind of eyeball it based on the color. So yeah, that's, you're just gonna have to add, these are, again, these are one of those no recipe recipes. I like mine also, I like mine cut pretty small. That's another thing I've noticed. I used to, I helped this cafe a long time ago in New Orleans develop their menu. It was kind of like a coffee house and they just served like light. There was a bakery and so they had just a few little lunchy things. And one of the things that came up was making a tuna salad and a chicken salad. And we had very different opinions about how chunky something should be, whether it should be whirled in a food processor or it should be like kind of very, very chunky. So I thought it was really interesting. So you're going to have to kind of, whatever texture you like. I don't like mine super chunky, but I certainly don't like it all just whirled up in a food processor. I like, I like to feel like I can have a little bit of a meaty taste in there. So this is about 1/3 of the onion, and then I'll adjust as we go and add more if it seems like it needs it. Again, I just kind of go by a color ratio is really how I do it. And this is actually looking pretty good. I don't know if I'll add much more. I don't like it to be overpowered by the onion flavor. So again, how thick you chop those onions is really entirely up to your own flavor preference. Now, preserved lemons, we'll talk about what they are and what's good for them when we make them. But these have been in my fridge for well over a year, but they do have some probiotics in them. So let me do a little more research on, what's great. But I do know one of the greatest things about them is the peel. And the peel can be really good for your digestion, amongst, the other things that could be good in here. But I'm just gonna chop, again, I chop these up pretty small. I don't ever like to get like big chunks of anything, but again, I don't want it to be like a creamy mass either. So those were interesting conversations. It was kind of like, oh, I've always made my stuff this way. So again, if you don't have the preserved lemons, I know it's not something like everyone just has. They have a very salty, lemony taste. A caper would work just as well. You could totally use some capers. So I've just used about 1/4 of a lemon. I think I'm going to use another half. I'm going to use half of 1/4 here. Okay, just put that back. And that's like this salty brine. Again, I'll teach you how to make them. They're super, super easy and they're super good, and you can use them in all kinds of fun things. But tonight we're going to use them in here. And you know, they pack a real punch. So just like a caper, you know, is kind of like that tiny little thing that packs such a huge little punch of flavor. You don't want to, you know, get a huge bite of preserved lemon. So that's that one. And then these little guys, if I had cherry tomatoes that were bigger, I would probably cut them into quarters, but because of the size of these guys, I'm just gonna pour them right in just as they are. I think I'm gonna use all of them. Yeah, we're gonna use all of them. I might have just put too many. No, actually this is gonna be just fine. Okay, so again, I just kind of go by like color, you know, you can kind of see the proportions when you put this all together. Okay, and then we're gonna put some mayonnaise in there and some pepper. And it doesn't need any salt, that's for sure. There's a lot of salt in the tuna. Okay, let's finish this up. Sorry, let's get this guy out of the way. We're gonna use a little bit of pepper. I'm gonna be a little heavy-handed because I kind of like that lemon and pepper together. Probably used at least a half a teaspoon. I'll probably go in and put at least another half a teaspoon in here. Yeah, I'm going to. Again, I just kind of, it's all kind of by feeling, right? And then as far as how much mayo to use, let's see, you can kind of see. And if you don't like mayo, by the way, I think a lot of people have used Greek yogurt. I've never liked that version, but if you like it that way, like I'm sure it's really good. So that's what, maybe like a few tablespoons there. I'm probably gonna do one more. And we're gonna mix that all up and then we'll see how that ratio looks. Again, this is all kind of to your liking. Some people like extra mayo, some people like no mayo. You could do, you know, add some olive oil, I suppose, maybe back from that sardine can if you wanted, if you don't like the mayo. Or you could try the yogurt. Again, I've never liked the yogurt, but I know some people do. So whatever floats your boat, we're just kind of making a tuna salad here, and I'm just trying to make it extra lemony, and those preserved lemons are just very lemony and very salty. So that's it. And again, the capers would work just fine. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of dill throughout here. And again, I don't know if you can kind of see, hot tip on storing your herbs, but you know, storing them like you would flowers, you know, putting them in a glass with some water, and then just using kitchen shears to cut them up. It goes a lot more quickly. That's that. We're just gonna stir that in until it kind of seems like a dill could overpower this pretty quickly. So you don't wanna be too heavy-handed, but I just like those little pops of green in there. So again, I'm gonna go in by the color, but I think it needs just a little more. Not much, just a little bit. So I don't even know if I've used a teaspoon of fresh dill here. I have tried making this with dried dill. It's just not the same. I don't know, it's just not the same. All right, so that's it with the dill. You don't want to be too heavy-handed or it will take over. And then I thought, you know, for serving this, because we did have that cute little 1950s Luray China dish, thought let's, you know, find our little inner 50s housewife here and we'll kind of serve it that way. This china, I used to collect stuff. This is Luray from like 1950s, I think. I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of fun. And instead of, I mean, you could serve this like on a sandwich, just like any way you enjoy tuna salad. But I thought I would just kind of serve it like 1950s diner style, where it's just sitting. This is, just so you know, I've got some romaine lettuce, and I'm just going to line the bottom of the bowl with the romaine here, so you can kind of see. And then I'm just going to put a scoop of tuna over it, and then we're going to have crackers with it. So let me get my scooper. Actually, we'll just use this and serve it with some crackers. Oh, that's gonna be it. And again, you could serve this over like cut up lettuce, you know, so you're kind of having a tuna salad, or you could serve it on bread like you would a sandwich. It's a little funny with the tomatoes in there to have it as a sandwich. This size tomato, you might, you know, that's where you might want to cut it up a little more because it makes it easier to get on the bread. But that is what we are going to do here. And let's just pull out a couple of these guys because they're so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, stay right there. You look so cute. And then I'm just going to do a few more because this just looks so pretty. Okay, and then let's add some crackers. And I found these gorgeous crackers. They're called einkorn. I think you guys in Germany probably are familiar with this wheat, but it's like an old form of wheat. And what I really liked about the cracker though is that it's a sourdough cracker. I have nothing, you know, not affiliated with that brand, but you know, you can do any kind of little cracker. It would be fine with rice cakes, I suppose. So whatever, you know, serving works for you, or you could even do some sourdough toast to serve with it. But that's our little 1950s tuna salad. How gorgeous is that? Look at that. You guys, right? And we just made that like that. Boom, dinner's ready. And I'm getting all these omega-3s. I'm getting the probiotics from the preserved lemons. I'm getting some other digestive help from the preserved lemons. And so very healthy dinner we made in like, what, 5 minutes? Done, dusted. All right, you guys, have a great evening and have a wonderful, cool week. Let's all chill out. And there is our tuna salad, all ready to eat. Good night, you guys.